We were just messing around laughing like always when he suddenly ended up above me and everything felt different. He didn't move. Neither did I in that quiet pause. Something changed. Welcome to my silent gay story, where unspoken feelings collide with moments that linger too long. If you've ever wanted something you weren't supposed to want, stay. This one's for you. It honestly started like any other boring Thursday night. No plans, no crowd, just takeout boxes, low music, and me and Maddox hanging out in the apartment. He was my roommate, but calling him just a roommate never felt accurate. Maddox was complicated. Tall, athletic, always confident without trying. The kind of guy who made people notice him the second he walked in. And the worst part? He had no idea what he did to me. That night he tossed a pillow at me while I was on my phone. I laughed and threw it back. One thing led to another, and suddenly he jumped across the couch, play wrestling like we were kids again. Except we weren't kids. And suddenly, he was above me. At first it was funny until it wasn't. His laughter faded. His body went still. I felt his breathing change. He looked down at me, eyes searching my face like he was trying to read my thoughts. I knew exactly what he was checking for. Whether I felt it too. I did. The closeness. The heat. The way the air felt heavier between us. Everything about the moment felt louder than words. He didn't say anything. He just stayed there, waiting. Waiting for me to laugh it off. Waiting for me to push him away, but I didn't. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought he might hear it. I stayed still, holding his gaze. Whatever was happening between us wasn't an accident, and we both knew it. Something shifted in his expression. Then his grip relaxed. His shoulders softened, but he still didn't move. I should get up, whispered. But he didn't, and I didn't tell him to. His face was close enough that I could feel his breath. There was hesitation there, mixed with something else's fear, maybe. Or hope. I spoke quietly, almost afraid of my own voice. Don't, he blinked, surprised. Don't move, I said again. I wasn't confused. I wasn't pretending anymore. I was tired of acting like sharing a space with him didn't mess with my head. Tired of pretending I hadn't imagined this moment more times than I could count. He leaned closer, resting his forehead against mine. That closeness sent electricity through me. I shifted slightly, and he reacted instantly like he felt it too. You feel that? He asked softly. I nodded. He gave a nervous half-smile. Yeah, me too. We didn't kiss. Not yet. We just stayed there, tangled in silence, caught between friendship and something far more dangerous and far more real. For the first time since moving in together, I didn't want to escape the feeling. I wanted to sit in it. Eventually, he rolled away slowly, like he didn't want to break the moment. Then he turned to face me. Why didn't you stop me? He asked. His voice was low, serious. I met his eyes and answered honestly. Because I didn't want to. He didn't respond right away. He just looked at me differently, like something had finally clicked. There was no pretending now. No resetting the moment. After a long pause, he spoke again. Can I stay in your bed tonight? No jokes, no smile. Just truth. I swallowed and nodded. And without another word, we walked down the hall together, knowing nothing between us would ever be the same again. The hallway felt longer than it ever had before. My heart was racing, like it was trying to tell me something important, but I wasn't scared. I felt awake, alive. The moment we stepped into my room, he pulled off his hoodie and dropped it on the floor, like he'd done it 100 times before. But this time, everything felt different. This time, I really noticed the way he moved. The quiet confidence that suddenly looked uncertain. He didn't turn around right away. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe I was too. He sat on the edge of my bed, the lamp casting a soft yellow glow across the room. I joined him, sitting close but not touching yet. Neither of us looked at the other. I stared up at the ceiling. He looked down at the floor. The silence wasn't empty, it was heavy with everything we hadn't said. After a moment, shifted and lay down beside me. Close, too close to ignore, but still careful. His leg brushed mine. I stayed still. Then his hand moved slow, hesitant, resting lightly against my arm, like he was asking a question without speaking. "Is this okay?" he asked quietly instead of answering. I leaned into him. His fingers traced gently from my shoulder to my wrist and back again, unsure but intentional. There was something almost fragile about it, like he was stepping into unknown territory, and somehow that made it mean more. "Can I tell you something?" he whispered. His voice wasn't steady. "Yeah," I breathed. "I think I've been pretending for a long time," he said, not letting myself feel certain things. My chest tightened. I wanted to say "me too," but the words stuck. Instead, I reached for his hand. Our fingers fit together naturally, like they'd been waiting to do that all along. He let out a shaky breath, the kind you release when you finally stop holding it in. I turned to face him. He was so close now. Even in the dim light, I could see the uncertainty in his eyes, mixed with something hopeful. He wasn't asking anymore. He just needed to know I was still there. I was. He shifted closer, our bodies fitting together in a way that felt familiar and new all at once. He rested his forehead near mine, breathing slowly, grounding himself. "You're not going to pull away, are you?" he asked softly. I shook my head. "I told you," I whispered. "I don't want to." He didn't kiss me, not yet. Instead, he rested his face near my neck and stayed there, holding me like he was afraid the moment might disappear. And in that quiet, the world felt distant. No labels, no explanations. Just two people finally not hiding. I barely slept that night, not because he was beside me, but because I didn't want the night to end. For the first time since we moved in together, he was close. And for the first time in my life, so was I. Morning light filtered softly into the room. I wasn't sure what time it was. Everything felt lighter, except my chest, which felt full and heavy all at once. He was still there, still under the same blanket, still warm against my side. His arm rested across me like it belonged there. Our legs tangled naturally. His breathing was slow and steady. I lay there thinking, wondering what this meant, whether it would change everything, or whether we'd pretend it never happened. Then he moved. His arm tightened slightly, pulling me closer. His fingers curled into my shirt like he didn't want to let go. "You're still here?" he murmured, voice rough with sleep. I turned toward him. "You're still holding me," he smiled, eyes half closed. "Yeah, I am." We looked at each other uncertain, a little amazed like we'd woken up in a world we didn't fully understand yet, but didn't want to leave. He didn't move his hand. "Not away from me. I didn't imagine it, did I?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. "No," I said quietly. "It was real." His eyes flickered just for a second. I felt him tense beside me under the covers. "Oh," he murmured. "So, you noticed?" I looked down, then back up at him. I noticed everything. The closeness. The weight of the moment. The way the air between us still felt charged. He didn't joke. Didn't brush it off. He just studied my face like he was trying to understand what I was feeling, and whether I wanted to feel it again. I didn't regret a single second. "Can I ask you something?" I said. He nodded. "Was last night just something you needed to get out of your system?" He blinked, then pushed himself up slightly, more alert now. "No," he said right away. Firm, honest. "Then what was it?" He really looked at me this time. No hiding. "It was something I've been fighting for a long time," he said, "and I just couldn't fight it anymore. I let that settle between us." The quiet stretched, but it didn't feel awkward. Then I finally said the words I hadn't been brave enough to say before. "I wanted it to," I admitted. "All of it." His jaw tightened, not with anger but with relief. He moved closer, closer than before, closer than I expected. It should have felt overwhelming, but instead it felt right. His hand rested at my side, steady and warm, grounding me. "You still want this?" he asked softly. I didn't answer with words. I leaned in. When our lips met, it wasn't rushed or desperate. It was careful. Like we were both learning something new. He pulled back just a little, searching my face. "You okay?" he asked. I smiled. "Yeah, I am." Something shifted then. Not rushed, not reckless, just honest. We moved together slowly, like we were afraid of breaking the moment if we went too fast. It wasn't about curiosity anymore. It was about trust. "I've never done this," he admitted quietly. "Not like this." "I'm here," I said. "We can take it slow." We did. What surprised me most wasn't the intensity, was the tenderness. The way he held me. The way he looked at me like I mattered. Like I wasn't just someone sharing a space with him, but someone he chose. Someone safe. At some point, we ended up tangled together, the room quiet except for our breathing. He brushed his thumb along my arm like he was memorizing the feeling. He whispered my name once, softly, and something in my chest cracked open. I didn't rush him. He didn't rush me. It wasn't about anything physical anymore. It was about closeness. About being seen. Then suddenly he went still. His forehead rested against mine, his breathing uneven. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded, but I could tell something was weighing on him. He shifted onto his side, but stayed close. One arm still around me like he didn't want to let go. "I've never done this," he said again. "Not just this. I mean letting myself feel it with a guy." I stayed quiet, giving him space. "I always wanted to," he continued. "I just kept pushing it down, pretending it wasn't real. Dating girls. Acting like it didn't matter." He stared up at the ceiling, voice low, but it did. I turned toward him, resting my hand over his. He squeezed back gently. "And it still does," I said. "But this is you," he said quietly. "It's not just about wanting someone, and that's what scares me." My throat tightened. I turned toward him, reached for his hand, and held it firmly. Like letting go wasn't an option. "I'm not just looking for something temporary either," I said. "I want you to want me like this. Like it matters." His jaw tightened. "I do." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy in a way that felt real. Like we'd stepped past a line and neither of us wanted to pretend we hadn't. When he looked at me again, there was something different in his eyes. Calmer. More certain. Without a word, he pulled me close, wrapping an arm around my waist and drawing me back against his chest. He settled there, holding me, and for the first time all night, I felt his body relax. His presence was steady, grounding. "You feel right," he whispered softly. I let out a slow breath and leaned into him. "I've never wanted anyone like this," he added, almost to himself. That sentence stayed with me. It made my chest ache in the best way, because I felt it too. He held me there, not rushing, not asking for anything, just being close, real, vulnerable, and I didn't pull away. I stayed exactly where I was, letting the moment exist without fear. He pressed a gentle kiss near my shoulder and tightened his arms around me. Then, in the quiet darkness, his voice dropped to almost nothing. "I think I've loved you since the week we moved in." I closed my eyes. Everything went still, like the world had paused just to hear that truth. When I finally spoke, my voice was barely a whisper. But it was honest. I stopped fighting it. I woke to the sound of his breathing, slow and steady, still behind me. Still there? Still holding me like that was where I belonged. His arm rested across me, warm and reassuring. The weight of him wasn't heavy, it was comforting, like a promise that hadn't faded with sleep. I stayed still for a moment, listening to him breathe, safe, real. His fingers shifted slightly, even in sleep, like he didn't want to let go. "Maddox," I whispered. He stirred. "I'm here," he murmured, voice thick with sleep. He pulled me a little closer. "Not going anywhere." My throat caught, not because of the words, but because of how sure he sounded, like he meant them completely. We stayed like that for a long time. No rush, no panic. Just quiet closeness, hearts steady together. Eventually he shifted, gently turning me onto my back. He hovered there for a second, eyes still half closed. It's familiar, but no less intense. I meant what I said, he whispered. I know, I said. I'm still scared. So am I, he admitted. He leaned down, rested his cheek against my chest for a moment, like he was grounding himself. I've never told anyone how I feel like this, he said softly. You don't have to tell anyone else, I whispered. Just don't stop telling me. He looked up at me then, eyes open and unguarded, raw in a way that felt honest. I used to think love was something you had to hide, he said quietly, like it made you weak. He paused, swallowing. But being with you? It makes me feel stronger. My eyes burned. No one had ever said something like that to me before. No one had ever made me feel like simply being me could mean something to someone else. In that moment, I understood. I wasn't just wanted. I was safe. I was home to him. He kissed me again, and this time there was no hesitation. It was slow, full of feeling like years of silence were finally being released. He held me close, like letting go wasn't an option. It wasn't about urgency. It was about need the kind that says, I want all of you, not just a moment. Are you okay? He whispered, resting his forehead against mine. Yeah, I said softly. Just don't pull away. I won't, he said, without doubt. He stayed, held me like I mattered, like I wasn't something temporary. And that terrified me, not because it felt wrong, but because it felt real. Because I knew if he left someday, it wouldn't just be his touch I'd miss. It would be the way he looked at me like I was worth choosing. But he didn't leave. Not that morning. Not when we finally got out of bed. Not when we stood in the kitchen sharing coffee, still half asleep, still close. He didn't hide. He didn't flinch. He just kept looking at me like he was still discovering me and liking everything he saw. We didn't label anything. We didn't announce it. But I knew. I was his, and he was mine. 3 days passed. 3 nights together. 3 mornings of quiet smiles and gentle closeness. We still hadn't said what we were, but we didn't need to. Not when he kept finding my hand without thinking. Not when he leaned into me like it was instinct. Not when his eyes said this wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't just attraction anymore. It was softer than that. The way he brought me coffee without asking. The way he rested his chin on my shoulder while I cooked. The way he watched me like I mattered. Then something happened I didn't expect. We had a few friends over, nothing big. Just laughter, food, people squeezed into our small living room. It should have been easy. But sitting there, with him across from me, surrounded by people who didn't know, my chest tightened. Would he pull away? Would he pretend nothing had happened? I tried not to overthink until one of the guys made a joke about dating, about how Maddox could have anyone he wanted. Everyone laughed. Maddox didn't. He looked at me. Not scared. Not unsure. Like he was making a choice. Actually, he said calmly, I'm kind of seeing someone. The room went quiet. Oh yeah, someone teased. Who's the lucky girl? Maddox didn't hesitate. He's sitting right there, he said, pointing at me. Time stopped, everyone turned. My breath caught. And Maddox just smiled easy, proud, unafraid. Like saying it out loud was the most natural thing in the world. Like he wanted them to know what I already did. That he chose me. That he wasn't hiding. That I was his and he was mine. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even look away from him. He crossed the room like it was the most natural thing in the world, rested his hand on my shoulder, and kissed the top of my head. Just once. Simple, gentle, but it felt like everything after everyone left. I stood in the kitchen doorway, arms folded, heart still racing. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, and rested his chin near my neck. You okay? He asked softly. I nodded. You didn't have to do that. I know, he said. I wanted to. I turned to face him. Why now? He smiled, not nervous, not unsure, just honest. Because I'm not hiding anymore, he said. Not from them. Not from you. Not from myself. Kissed him then, slow, steady, deeper than anything before. When I pulled back, my voice barely worked. You have no idea what that meant to me. He rested his forehead against mine. I think I do, he said. because it meant everything to me too. That night we didn't rush anything. We didn't try to make it intense or dramatic. We just held each other, lying face to face, legs tangled, arms wrapped tight. His fingers traced my cheek again and again, like he was grounding himself in the fact that this was real and in the quiet, with nothing but our breathing between us. He whispered the words that settled everything. I want this. I want you. Not just now. Not just when it's easy. I want to fall asleep like this. I want to wake up next to you. I want the hard days and the good ones. I want to grow old with you even if we end up a little stupid along the way. I laughed through a tear that slipped down my face. I want that too. We didn't need a label. We didn't need a title. We just needed the truth. And lying there, in the quiet, in the safety of his arms, I realized something. He may have started out above me, but in the end, he landed right in the center of my heart, and I never stopped him, because I never wanted to. Not then. Not ever. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to Silent Gay Story, where real emotions, brave love, and honest stories are told, because sometimes the love you're most afraid to admit is the one that changes everything.